Hello, my name's Derek, and I sell physical media on eBay. This video is more of a the more you know, the more you make. Well, potential. But I'll get to that. So a handful of days ago, maybe a week ago, wherever I would end up, where did I get these at? I think I was on my picture of the store. Brunswick. So I went out to Brunswick, Parma, Medina, those stores there, and pick up physical media, disc media. CDs are down here. My hands are right here. DVDs are over here. I've got Blu-rays and books and stuff like that, cassette tapes and so on and so forth. And when I can get stuff for whatever it may be, but ultimately if I can make $5 on it, that's the minimum amount right there. So if I'm paying $1 or $2 and they sell for 12, 15, a few factors are going to vary, but that's basically making at least $5 per one until you get down to about the $12 mark. Even if I buy something that gets less than that, I still make money on it. But every once in a while, there's those things that are just really interesting, and it's a compact disc version of something. And we can consider CDs, DVDs, audiobooks, computer software, video games, all that is all a version of a compact disc. Take a disc, make it smaller, it's compact disc. So I get all kinds of different stuff. And one of the things that caught my attention somewhere, because then one of those other things are computer games, computer software, are the things that I do also get. You know, the whole compact disc thing referred to about 18 seconds ago. Are these things called CD TV? Okay, well, that one's probably easier if we do it like that. So CD TV, I just type in CD TV, and systems come up for anywhere from like $800 to over $1,000. Well, I'm sure that the software games got to be, less than that, but they're not $5 each like a common sports game for a console. Well, that would still be a console, but this came from the Commodore Amiga. And the Commodore Amiga had different variations. There was one called the CD32. There was one called the CD-TV. There was another one, don't remember. And so at the $2, whatever I was paying for these ones at the store, yeah, I'll buy them if they're $15. Yeah, I can make $5 each. All right, go back to the beginning of the story. Upon looking more of these up, so I went into Terapeak, and since I've already closed all those tabs because the idea for this video spawned like 2 hours after I finished listing them, but here is a screenshot of the total amount of the 13 listings that I put up. That very top one is going to be the end of this story. It should probably be the thumbnail. The actual games, the mean price sold through Terapeak. So I had to go in there, CD-TV, Commodore. I didn't put Amiga because I'm trying to keep as minimal in there as possible. And anything that I'm going to use to narrow it down, I'm not going to be adding words. I'm going to be using hyphen and then a word. So I don't want the CD32, so hyphen CD32. I don't want a keyboard, hyphen keyboard, right? So I want to narrow it down to where I have enough that's manageable to where you can look and you've got 100 results instead of 1,500, right? So there are some games that have sold for lower, some games that have sold for more. This is not anything that's extra spectacular, but just the point. And some are $200, $300, $400 used. None of the ones I have are like that. Well, no, either way. Castlevania was one. Some mystery something was another. There's another larger, was it Jedi or Back to the Future or something? I don't remember. You could type that one up. But Shadow was another one, I think. But those ones are like $300, $400, $500, and you get them sealed. They're going to be $400, $500, $600 because they weren't made a whole lot. And probably because the system was most likely expensive and probably just phasing out in its time of the tech and everything that was being made in '91. What was that? The Jaguar, Neo Geo, 3DO, That's not what this video is about. So I did some researching, and most of these here, except for a couple of them, that one's already sold for 75. So I'll take that out of the story. And I might as well talk about these two. So that is a CD. It is a J Park called Worldwide, non-listed. The most they've sold for is like 60 bucks. A couple of them new for right around there. I have this up for 75 open. Why? Because there's none listed. And they do sell what have been on Terapeak. So, all right. This it's called Under Oath, and I think this is up for like 60, 70 bucks as well. Santa's got a GTO, I think is about the same, 60 bucks, 50 bucks maybe. And the wine is only like 30. All right. Those are done. But as for these Amiga games, so these ones are all, there's one I think is under 100, I think it's at 75. A handful of others are at 120, and a handful of others are at 140, and a couple of them are, I think one is like 160. I think like that one might be 160 or something. Don't remember exactly, right? So this is just one of those things on why I got into physical media. It's for the most part in stores. I'm gonna put this on mostly on stores, because if a household has these at a yard sale or garage sale, unless they're just really wanting to just flush them out, if the person who's trying to sell them is the one who bought them way when ago, they're probably privy enough to know that they're worth more than 50 cents that you get them for at another yard sale. You might spend $5 each for them at a yard sale, but still. Altogether, of the, what are there, 9, 8, even if average across the board, it's $100 each. I don't know if that's what that one makes. See, I don't even know what kind. It does look more like an eagle, but that would be more canned out this way. But then again, it's an artist depiction. The main intent of this video, this is King Crimson. Can I get $600? Is it worth $600? Why and how did I come up with the amount that I did to list it for $600? A $600 2-disc CD set of the band from primarily the 60s and 70s, a UK band, which most of the people who watch my channel are, I could tell by the age demographics and the stats, that are old enough to know who King Crimson is. In 2001, I'm going to start this off with. In 2001, we're going to travel back 14 years, 24 years. Travel back 24 years to CDs have already been around, and burnt media, a CD burning machine, deck, whatever it was, CD burner. On a computer, probably a little cheaper, but the actual standalone units from Magnavox, I know Sony made some, JVC made some. In 2001, I'm going to put a guesstimated price on there, probably $400 for a stupid, like a similar to getting a CD player at Dollar General now, right? They were just low end $400 all the way up over probably over 2,000, because there's other like really Nexcom would have been a brand that would have been in there. It's not Telarc. I don't know why I'm thinking. Well, Telarc probably did make them, but anyhow, the needed expense in order to think that you're going to make profit on recording a a very, very much standalone, one-off 2 discs of King Crimson at a local university in New York in 2001, that you're going to burn a whole bunch of these copies and you're going to go down in downtown New York and try to hustle off some 2 disc versions of King Crimson 2001. Who is going to be listening to or wanting a 2 disc version of King Crimson in 2001? A burnt version, right? So, see my logic there? I don't think it's a burnt version. Other reasons why I don't think that is the actual like quality. Well, that kind of sucks, but it's the quality of the image on this paper. Is one. 2, the quality of the disc. And when I was making the sourcing video when I got these, I was trying to read the brand. And it's a Kodak something. Kodak CDR 74, and it has a series of numbers, which I don't know what they represent. There's 0012, 3022, 0108. And the same thing I'm going to assume is on the other disc. So, doing research on how to find out if this was even legit, all I did was just type in King Crimson 2001. Well, that helped, because if they had a bunch of shows in 2001, there couldn't have been much of any more than 365, which I doubt that, because in 2001, they're probably already close to 70 at that time. I doubt they're doing 365 shows in 2001. So there's not going to be a whole lot that's going to come up. And sure enough, a handful did come up. And one of the first things that did come up was, hey, King Crimson played December 4th in, I think it was Albany is what came up, not Amherst, but maybe Albany's right there. Maybe it was Buffalo, whatever the ad was, and it was for the local newspaper. And it was at the actual Center of the Arts Performance Theater. So an indoor venue. My best guess, furthermore, this performance was one of a handful, maybe 18, maybe 20. There was a website called Spectatorville or something like that. No, that's not it. Guest Spectacular. I'll screenshot. Where I was able to ascertain some more information about this. I also found out that at the beginning of what this is known as the Level 5 tour for King Crimson, John Paul Jones of Led Zeppelin performed with King Crimson on their opening act for the start of the tour. And also, I don't know if any other acts, but at least in this other one, performed with King Crimson at this one. So that raises a little bit of prominence on it. Like, well, we've got King Crimson and John Paul Jones in this very, very specific, narrowed down tour that it's more one of those, if you know, you know. If you knew King Crimson was coming in town in 2001 in New York, now a lot of people really knew, besides King, what have you. So it wasn't necessarily that majorly popularized. You know what I mean. On the back, it reads, non-commercial, I can't see this, but it's like non-commercial, not for sale, don't think about trying to sell it, this is for trade use only, blah, blah, blah. If you want to support the band, go talk to them, and this is where they got this, wherever this is. I'm going to guess this is some sort of cataloging number that the university used, because I'm going to best guess, is that they made their own in-house recording, digital recording, which would make sense because you're probably running most of all that music through their sound system. And it's not difficult to have all the wires coming in, recording device, speakers, right? So it's sound is amazing. Electronics is amazing. I don't know if it was put on a computer, but I don't know if it was direct live. I don't know. What I can ascertain, though, is that there's nothing out there at all. And there are a couple from the tour, but they gave another location. But most of them were all from later years, 2005, 2014, so on and so forth. None from 2001, which is when this tour happened, from the beginning or the end of November until about the end of December. No one else had 2001 in any of that information. So to have I'm going to dub it, a master copy of otherwise something that is not out there at all by at least a recognizable band puts a lot of merit on me having, I don't want to say a stranglehold on it, but if you want the performance version of King Crimson from that tour, which good luck finding any physical media from that specific tour from 2001, I know someone who's got one of them. There's this. So 600 too high. Well, I think it's already got like 5 views. It could just be curiosity views. It could be somebody just clicking on like, that guy's full of himself. I don't care what you think. I only care about the person who pays for it. So it is just a lot of digging in and ensuring what I have is not bootleg is one primary thing. Kind of like the Jimmy Buffett ones. Those are in a very, very similar type situation. Those are recordings, live recordings of that event that happened. Either way, I don't know. I'm not going to get into the story of those, but that's just another one of those that you have to look at. I'm not going to say anybody who's listening, what I mean isn't that you don't have critical thinking. I'm just saying is you have to use some outside of the box critical thinking and ask questions. Why? Why can't I find anything about this tour? Why can't I, even in cassette tapes, they were still pressing records in 2001, but I don't think a record company, is going to want, I don't know, right? But they weren't making 8-tracks. They're still making cassettes. They're still pressing records. There's a DVD Blu-ray type set that's like a Japan import, which is $600, $700, $800, $900. But this is not a Japan import, right? So I narrowed that down. There's nothing physical media-wise out there about an absolute legit tour that King Crimson did back in 2001. When you have stuff like that, you have the stranglehold. You want it? You got to grip it from my hands or pay me. This is another, it's like those cassette tapes. It's another one of those just absolute collector's item. Unlike those tapes where there are a lot of them, enough to where the price that I got for them instantly, mind you, I probably asked a little less right off the rip. I did my diligence for those, and I can only go off of the information that I have, and if there's not a lot, I can always boost the price up and whittle its way down. This isn't my only item for sale, right? This could sit for 5 years if I want to. I don't think it will. So in the listing, I wrote a little story, very, very condensed of what I just said, in about 2 paragraphs. Here's a screenshot. And that will help explain that I strongly believe that this is truly an in-house of the Center for the Arts Theater, their AV departments or their recording departments, or whichever. Their in-house recording of this. So on the back, non-commercial use, home use only, do not reproduce. This CD with intent to sell, trade only. If you like what you hear, support the... It's almost like these people could forecast what's going to be said at the end of YouTube all the time. If you like what you heard, support your local YouTube creator. I mean, thinking going up. All right. But that's intrinsically, that's always the quest. Inside, it's always that quest. Like, where am I going to go? What am I going to find? Yeah, it's going to be a lot of bread and butter. Yeah, maybe $100 book, an Asmonov book. It may be a $500, $600, $700 Alcoholics Anonymous book. It may be a $2,000 Lady Gaga vinyl set. But everything else that you pretty much got within that week or 2 weeks were all mostly bread and butter and a little above. But you don't know. You got all these CDs lined up like this, and you're like, all right, I'll grab it, I'll look at it. Like, that's King Crimson. And even if it was bunk, I probably still would have listened to it. And you just get some very, very, very unique and most likely one-off. There might be, I'm not even going to speculate, but I am, 10 copies, 2, 20, I don't know. I know there's at least one. So, this is where I want to say being familiar with pop culture definitely helps to sell physical media, which then promulgates the pop culture, because pop culture is based off of the media, the music, the movies, the books, right? We have like Harry Potter earlier, started off as books, the movies, and now you have soundtracks, right? So pop culture. It's good to know that. King Crimson, interesting, kind of psychedelic, kind of like a metal psychedelic. And the kind of music I like that instrumental type, because back in the 60s and 70s, they didn't have the stuff we have now. So they had to make do with a little bit of electricity through a guitar and an amp, and they had to make as much sound as they could with their synthesizers. And well, now we're getting in the 80s, but with their organs and keyboards, and now we're getting to like things like ELO and BTO. And make those right sounds with the key or the guitar strings and the other string instruments. Believe it or not, that guitar makes all kinds of sounds. It's wonderful. I'm a fan of the percussion and the keyboard, of the snare drum and keyboard. Every once in a while, but you don't hear trombones too often, and like a lot of rock music and stuff. But the point of this video is that I could have just been like, yeah, it's a 2-disc King Crimson, and just looked on eBay and be like, 2-disc CD set King Crimson, and saw that people have them listed for $30. I don't know. Whichever, right? It could just been one of those type of sellers. Like, oh, well, okay, King Crimson, they sing that Schizoid Man song. It looks about right. Oh, yeah, I know that dinosaur from them, so it must be legit. It's 2 discs I'm going to put up for $30. If you go way above the canopy, and you look out there and you start like, there's more clues out here, but I got to go out there and find them. Fortunately, that whole walking path that I had to take is all done on fiber optics, right? Internet. So it didn't really require a lot of walking or gear or anything else. Just never know. Will it sell for again, mere speculation. Will it sell for 300, 500, 600? I don't know. But it's going to be one of those real hardcore collectors, and those people that know, that really, really like King Crimson. And more so, and moreover, is it likely to sell for whichever? Because there are that I could find, no other forms of physical media of the events of what happened in this tour. I think there is one called, it is called the level 5, but it's a completely different variation than this. This doesn't have level 5 anywhere on it. It's just basically blank, but with songs on it. Interesting. Find something that's interesting. Don't settle on, oh, well, I can't figure it out. I'm just going to put it up for $20. Dig, 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 and dig. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with listing something for $50 and someone, well, after a little while, some coming in for like $30. A little more fine with that, but I'm not going to put something that is potentially worth $500 up for $20. Not going to make that mistake. Will it take a while? I don't know. I guess we'll know one morning in a what's sold video, right? Um, I don't know what those sales were. However, those game disc thingies, um, one of my cats is mad because it hasn't been able to go outside. Uh, have drawn a lot of attention. Actually, before I started this video, I hit refresh to see if I could send out any offers, and 5 of them. I need to send offers out on 5 of them already. They've only been up for like half an hour. So I think that was the point of this. There's going to be, well, we'll go from there. All right. So that's like 25 minutes to explain about keeping your eyes open and opening the curtains and let your brain go out and figure out things that are not easy to figure out. It'd be nice if it was like signed and something like that. But if it sells for 5, I'll definitely take that. Even if it sells for 100, I'll take it. Here's the hoping. So, like what you heard, like what you saw, like what you learned. Let me think of going up. Comment down below. Subscribe, share. Those are all free. They take a second. They help me help. Well, we're all helping everybody here. Appreciate it.